Hey, it's Michael Quinn here with Flavors of New York. I'm at 101 Avenue A. I used to hang out this place years ago growing up in New York City when it was the Pyramid Club. Now it's a new venue called Baker Falls. Let's go check it out. Hey, Nick.
Hey, what's up,
going,
Mike?
pal?
Good to see you. Welcome to Baker Falls. Come on down to the Fever Dream. I'm kind of proud of the way this turned out.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for having us here. I'm just so excited that this venue still exists, and I'm just a place that I really hung out a lot as a kid growing up in New York City. And when did you decide you wanted to take over the space?
Yeah, so, I've been running places in the East Village since 1995. I've been living here since the late 80s. I own the Library Bar, which has been there for 25 years on Avenue A, beer and a shot dive bar, noon to 4, and music-centric with a jukebox and everything. All I ever wanted to do was, have the best jukebox in New York City. When I hang out at all the jukebox bars in the neighborhood, and like a year after we opened, when people read the Village Voice, we got voted best jukebox. I'm like, that's it, my career's over. I don't need to do anything else. But then, obviously, I've always loved live music. Growing up, going to the Brownies and the Ritz and CBs, and when I was under the all ages shows. Mm-hmm. So Cake Shop, we opened Cake Shop for 15 years, and when that closed, it was a bit of a gut punch, obviously, and I was like, how will I ever be able to open a venue again in downtown, like down in the East Village, down where home, this is where home is. I don't want to open in Brooklyn, it's just not mine. And I love so many venues here, but they're great venues already. Mm-hmm. Felt like this neighborhood really needed another great, performance venue again. And then, so I've heard that the Pyramid was closing, and I'm like, oh my God, if I can get this, I can do a rock club again. And not just a rock club, but a performer. I'm the steward of 101 Avenue A. Like, this is a really, really special address and a really special place. And, it meant a lot as a Pyramid Club for 40 years to a lot of people, a lot of different people and different types of people over time. And I was like, I want to do this right. So I basically started looking and being like, hey, who, I need partners. Who's gonna, who wants to take over the Pyramid, do our own thing, And Knitting Factory kind of approached, and they were like, hey, we're interested. We'll buy some shares. Maybe we'll partner up. And then they found, their landlord was being very reasonable. They were open in Brooklyn after opening. They opened in 1987 on Houston, and were like a jazzy cafe. Then they were on Leonard Street for 15 years. And basically by the end of it, they were like, well, look, this Brooklyn's not working. Let's go back to our roots. Let's partner up with you. And they decided to be like all in on the partnership. So, I was like, great, I can do Baker Falls, which is this sort of decrepit manor house in the woods kind of vibe, and do my continuation of what Cake Shop was, kind of rolling in the library, kind of rolling in my coffee shop that was called Alt.Coffee. That was an internet coffee house from 1995 till about 2009 across from Tompkins, when it was still every junkie in the tri-state area trying to use our bathrooms in our coffee shop, our indie coffee shop. And, so everything is kind of leading together to this. And I was like, it took me 2 years. It was like very difficult negotiations, and I felt like it was going to spin apart at any time. I was like, when I got the keys, I'm like, oh my God, it's my place now, because I felt like it could go away at any day, just the way the deal was panning out. So, when we actually got the space, and I was confident with this location, the history, I could get 2 4 AM liquor licenses, both upstairs and down, and meaning me specifically, because I'm, my son's born and raised in the community. We've been here 30 years. Like, people like my coffee shops and and bars, and we don't have fights, and we're not like a difficult operator. So I was like, I can get 2 4 AM licenses in this space, which I did. So I passed community board unanimously. I had I had Kembra from Voluptuous Horror of Karen Black write a letter of recommendation, and Jeffrey Lewis, who's big in the anti-folk scene, he's a neighborhood guy, so they wrote me letters of recommendations that, the whole thing is, it was very important, like, if I can get this, we can bring back a really special community again to the East Village. I wanted to bring a place that inspire people to not just pick up instruments and be rock bands, but also do weirdo plays like the Pyramid used to do. I mean, there was so much interesting history there that had been, for the past 12 years, the Pyramid Club was really just a kind of watered down dance club.
I used to come here a lot when it was the Pyramid Club, and back then it was basically drag shows and music oriented, and I actually played with my band here at a few events. And when it closed, I was so depressed. But once I saw that article by Lori Shapiro, she wrote this wonderful article about the club and how it was reopening under your leadership and ownership. And the programming now is different than it was with the traditional Pyramid Club. It's changed, and you added more. What have you added?
Yeah, so coming out of Cake Shop, which was these sort of bleeding edge emerging bands, I was dialed with that, but we also did comedy, and we did a poetry, like not poetry, but reading series where we had like Luke Sante, who's now Lucy Sante. We had Colson Whitehead, but everybody thought of us as a rock club, and I'm like, great. But then they loved the extra programming, right? So, partnering with Knitting Factory, I was like, okay, great. The touring rock band, touring band, we're covered, and I can build cool, bills and do alternative programming as well. So that's why, having the Baker Falls sort of idea. So basically, I wanted, again, create a place where to inspire people to either write an oddball play like Black Lips Performance Club used to do at the Pyramid at 1 a.m. every Monday. They have a residency, all sorts of, I'm like, let's have an old queen work with a new queen and inspire a new piece, and we'll have a stage for it. We even book releases like Jesse Rifkin's This Must Be the Place, and we had a Glitter and Concrete, which is 120 years of drag history in New York City. We did a book release and then a performance. So having DJs from the Pyramid like Danny Johnson, and then inspire the next wave, hopefully, of creativity, because that's what the downtown always is to me. It's like downtown, let's get the creatives, let's get the straights and the creatives and everybody hanging out together. And the programming, if I do my job, you'll come even if you don't know the band. Like, you're like, what a interesting group of people, and I'm so inspired. We had an anti-folk open mic, and people are like, I hadn't played since COVID, or I hadn't played in 10 years. And then to be able to inspire people to start creating again is just really special. So the programming is like, let's just do cool stuff. It could be out there, it could be, but let's just kind of provide a stage.
In addition to the program that has added to or changed over the years since the Pyramid Club, I see the design of the place has changed. Also, you have a coffee shop during the day, basically. And what is the experience like? Someone's never been to Baker Falls. Take us through the experience of visiting this place.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think I do that's kind of unique is I just kind of set up a place where I want to hang out, and luckily, it resonates, right? And I don't over-design. You walk in these places, they're over-designed, they're all polished, and or they're trying too hard, or so. I'm paying a high rent, and I've been doing, my coffee shop, in '95, we got to monetize it. So I've always felt that drinking and coffee worked well with other things, even a cafe bookstore, a cafe comic book store, a record store. But I'm I was very important to me, and this is, I think historically what I've done is, I don't just want to be a rock club. So, I love Mercury Lounge. It's one of my favorite clubs in the country, but nobody in the neighborhood goes there for a Budweiser or meet a friend and have a bud. You go to Library Bar, like my other spot, meet some friends, hang out, go see a show, come back. So here, I've always done coffee. I started in the coffee business in the early 90s, and I love the coffee culture, which is different than a bar culture, which is different than a music venue culture. So the idea is coffee, cafe, the day, come hang out, work on your laptop, write a screenplay if you want, have an engaging conversation with a barista or bartender. Then we have happy hour, 2-for-1 drinks. Nobody, you don't think to go to a rock club for happy, or usually go somewhere else and then go to this. So it's a big part of my hospitality philosophy is I don't want to give people an excuse to leave. I want you to meet new people. I want you to hang out. So, we do coffee, and then that coffee program goes into the evening, because as consumption patterns have changed, as I've gotten older, we have a huge NA program, meaning non-alcoholic beers. We have a non-alcoholic draft cocktail, just fun stuff, so everybody can still experience and have fun and come out.
When I walked in here, I had so many memories of hanging out here as a kid, but what about you could get the feel that it's an historic place? That one time it was a German beer hall, and I saw that wing structure on the left, which was brought over to the side of the wall from the front. Tell us a little about the history and the architecture of the building.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm not an interior designer, but I put a lot of thought in how are we gonna do our own thing, but still keep the history of 101 Avenue A. So I did a deep dive. I knew about the pyramid and Brian Butterick and Bobby Bradley starting it and talking. It was a Ukrainian day drinking bar in 1979. By 1981, these fabulous guys come in and like, let's do some plays in the back. So the Pyramid Club, was part of the history, but the building was built in 1876. And it was purposely built as a gathering space, as it was a union hall. It was, when Tompkins Square Park opened, they had the parties here. So I'm like, this is an old building that's made to have people in it, and human collisions, as I call it. But I was fascinated because before, in the 1850s, it was a heavily German neighborhood. The first person, Peter Dolger, to ever brew Pilsner beer in America was at 101 Avenue A in a previous building, but it's still the same lot. So it was very important to me that anybody had walked into the Pyramid Club where Nirvana's first show was in the East Coast, where RuPaul literally lived in the basement here. She was in a band called Wee Wee Hole from Athens, and they're like, Bobby's like, hey, Ru, you don't have to go back with the rest of Wee Wee Hole after you played your show. Come live in the basement, and that's RuPaul. And RuPaul saw Whitney Bunny and all the people that were performing. Yeah. So, I always had this decrepit manor house in the woods, little gray gardens. That's what Baker Falls kind of is, like this place in the woods, mysterious, kind of Twin Peaksy, So for me to get a chance to decorate the basement, which was a concrete bunker where I would go see goth shows and industrial shows, and Concrete Jungle was, it was just a concrete basement. But it was so important to me that where all these, straight people are hanging out with LGBTQ people, that's a rare environment, and there's crazy people on the bar. So the bar is exactly the same upstairs. The stage are the same boards. We could have pulled out the stage and we did a lot of soundproofing, but it was so important to me that those actual structures were in place. So I took the walls and ceilings down to the studs to soundproof, and I built it back with the footprint of the pyramid because I wanted people up there to feel that way. And we had art installations up there now where the artist loved the pyramid. She's like, oh, I know you have to do construction, you have to tear it down, let's capture it. So she took pigment and poured it over the construction site and made pieces of artwork. And one is also inspired by like a bouffant wig that like Lady Bunny. So there's a kinetic art sculpture up there that's all part of like the pyramid into Baker Falls.
Nick, thanks so much for having us here for Flavors of New York. I really appreciate how you kept the history intact. You respect the history, but also at the same time, you're expanding and doing new programming. And we don't have many places like this anymore. And it's definitely needed, but I appreciate you having us here today.
I can't tell you how much it means to me when people are like, Nick, thank you for, providing the space. And, it's the legacy of the library bar, Cake Shop, all the other places. Like, just to be, it makes me feel good, and it makes me know I'm doing the right thing.
Michael Quinn here with Nick Bodar at the former Pyramid Club, now Baker Falls / Knitting Factory for Flavors of New York.